7:30.
So last week we were talking about your depressive symptoms, and I know that you've had struggles with certain triggers, and I'd like to know for this past week where you have been with your depression, like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst. Where did you average on most days this week?
Maybe somewhere in the middle, maybe 5, 6.
Okay.
Probably a 6.
Okay.
Average.
All right. And tell me a little bit more about that, because we've discussed that there have been thoughts of, not wanting to be here. Did you experience any of that this week?
Sometimes, to be completely honest, it's more of the, gosh, it would just be easier if I didn't wake up type of thing, because things are hard. And being a single mom, it's a big burden that I feel like I carry on my own. And so it's that initial, like, you open your eyes and it's like, here we go again, and having to do it all again every day. It's that day in and day out of it.
Yes. It is very, very difficult being a single mom. They say that motherhood is like the most challenging job, and doing it alone and not having someone there to support you is even more challenging. And I'm so sorry that this has become so difficult for you. I want to understand a little better when those thoughts came up last week, and how often, and what triggered those thoughts.
Okay. I would say, and maybe this is something I could do better with, like journaling and like tracking. It's not every day. I would definitely say a lot of times, like first thing in the morning, just because I think it's almost like I wake up exhausted.
Right.
And so it's that initial just overwhelming feeling of it's another day, and and then it's waking the kids up and getting them ready for school and in the morning, and so it's a lot. So definitely mornings, and probably if there's any, just the frustration of being a single mom because their dad's not involved. So if those thoughts come into my mind during the day because something happens involving him, or even if it's just something reminds me of just him not being around like he should be, that type of thing, and then it triggers that, like, I shouldn't have to do this alone, but because he's a jerk I have to, so it's hard, because I think that's like a big trigger.
Right. And that's understandable. And you've described those thoughts as just not necessarily wanting to be here, and not feeling a sense of purpose and meaning. Is that similar to what you experienced last week? Or how close have you come to acting upon those thoughts?
I've never acted on them and come close to it, and I think because my kids are my everything, so I'm not gonna leave them. They already have a dad that isn't involved, so I know I need to be there for them, and I don't want to be dead. Just the pressures of life. It would be easier if I could just, it's almost like, can I just sleep all day one day? Like, I don't want to die. Can I just be asleep all day?
Yes. And it is very difficult having that, not being able to have as much time as, you need alone. And,
for myself.
And having that pressure that you are the one person, they rely on you. I mean, 100%. Essentially, there is no one else. So I just want to understand a little better where these thoughts are, as far as not wanting to be here. Do you ever think that you would act on these thoughts in the future, or have you ever had a plan of how this would happen?
No, I don't have a plan, and I really don't. I don't want to let things, that's why I came for help. Like, I don't want things to get bad enough to where I feel I do want to act on them. I really don't think I would.
Okay. So what I'm understanding is you had these thoughts a few months ago. triggered by the passing of your father, as well as not having a really good relationship with your boyfriend. And so these thoughts that you had last week were triggered by, single parenting and the demands and the stressors that come with that.
Right.
Okay.
Definitely.
And so it is such a difficult situation, and it's important to identify these triggers and to have an understanding where you are as far as being able to move forward in helping you. And so thank you so much for being transparent. It's so important to be able to communicate, your concerns to the fullest. And what I want to further understand, I know that you had mentioned that you suspect your child has ADD, a 4-year-old. So I, in thinking about that, it would be good if you could, visit with your pediatrician and perhaps have a developmental assessment done. Typically it's done by a developmental pediatrician. Right. But the reason I mention this, I think, is because I know that this is something that has weighed heavily on you for some time. And I think it would be good to explore that more and to help sort of relieve some of that weight about what you suspect is going on with your son. What are your thoughts?
I think that's a great idea. I think so often, because not having help, right? So like me feeling like I do this on my own, that's another thing that's like, I need to figure that out on my own. Like, how do I help him not, so it doesn't come to my mind like, oh, I need to go to a professional and ask for help and get him evaluated. Like, it just doesn't, it's like, okay, I'm the mom and I need to figure this out. Rather than, but I think it's a great idea.
And it could be a bit overwhelming. It could be another, daunting task, another appointment. But I want to share with you something, about myself. I mean, I have a kid that has ADHD and is on the autism spectrum, and I can understand where you're coming from. I too, as you know, am a single parent, and these thoughts were they resonate with me because it's the challenges that I was facing. And after having my son diagnosed, it really helped me to pave a path and to see sort of a light at the end of the tunnel, because of so many different people being involved and being able to help, and perhaps relieve some of that stress and anxiety associated with the situation.
No, that's good. And it's going to be me being willing to let other people help. So that's always where I'm like, I got it, no problem. So yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's really important. I'd like to know where you are as far as your dad is concerned and his passing. I know that last week you were sharing how sometimes you feel a sense of guilt because you felt like you could have done more.
And I still feel that. I still. It's almost like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time type of thing. Like I should have done more for him to help him. And even though then I get into that state of mind like, well, it just would have prolonged the inevitable. Like he was gonna pass. Like I get into that place of, but then it would have allowed me to have more time with him. But then is that being selfish? So I kind of battle, I would say, in my mind of like this and that, and then also. Then that I start feeling angry because my kids didn't deserve to lose their grandfather, and so I start I'm ticked off, like, okay, now they don't have a granddad, like, so I go between, and I know grieving is like that process, but it's like,
yes, the guilt is something that is experienced, and when we're, kind of, in a place where we look back and say what we could have, should have done, and it's something that many go through. And having discussed your father's passing, we both know that you did not have legal rights to his medical care or the direction that his medical care would take, because your stepmother was in control of that everything. And she did not allow you to make those decisions. So when those thoughts come up, you know, we were talking about those automatic thoughts that just pop in your head, you know, I mean, when we're in such a place of despair and discomfort, sometimes those thoughts come up, you know, and it's just something to just weigh us down. But we were talking about challenging those thoughts. And when you think about in that regard, and we're talking about the fact that you did not have complete control of the situation because you were not given permission.
Right.
How does that help you when those thoughts come up?
I think that's what caused me to be a little more angry, because I didn't have any say in it. So it's, I guess it's now like trying to, you know, I don't have to have control of everything, and I'm not a controlling person. I never thought I was, and then I realized maybe I do like things done a certain way, and I do want to have control of some things.
Yes.
But I think it's, when I feel angry is when I get in like a depressed state. That's when I start getting sad. So I'm one of those, like, when I'm angry, I'm not going to get road rage. I'm not going to scream and be like I want to beat somebody up. When I'm angry, I start crying, and then that's kind of when I just will maybe isolate a little bit and feel like gosh, this sucks, because there was nothing I could do in that situation. And then I'm, you know, and then I might go back to that, oh, well, could I have talked to my stepmom and been like, try to make it a better relationship to where maybe she'd listen to me a little bit and it would be okay, you know, and we could come up with decisions together. But I didn't even, I kind of gave up on that, thinking, oh, she's not gonna budge. So it is what it is.
And so it is difficult to be in that place where you're, you know, the anger turns into sadness and kind of reflecting upon, what I'm understanding is that you reflect upon the situation, and on the one hand, you know that you did not have the control or the power to make executive decisions, but on the other hand, you're like, well, could I have overstepped boundaries, or could I have done something else that could have changed the trajectory of how it turned out? And it's a struggle. It's a struggle, and it's you know, part of the grieving process. And I want to encourage you that it's okay to have that, you know, that struggle where you're, you know, going through these thoughts, but we don't want to necessarily sit on those thoughts because we know those thoughts aren't true.
Right. They're not going to help me.
Yeah. So, you know, when we're talking about the automatic thoughts that pop up, these thoughts that kind of perpetuate these behavioral responses and these emotions and feelings, we take the thought and we break it down and we throw in facts. And the fact is that you did, from my understanding, all that you could do, all that you were allowed to do. Does that help you when you think about it from that perspective?
Yeah, I think being able to reframe it, I think, is helpful, because I do get stuck in that, like, on that hamster wheel of coulda, shoulda, woulda, you know, like doing things differently, and ultimately, like I said, the outcome would have been the same. So I think, I know all of this will change when I've accepted the fact that he's gone, and I'm just not there yet. So I know it's going to take time, but
and that's okay.
Not there,
That is okay. There is no timeline. There is no, I don't have a timeline for you.
I wish.
You know, that's not my approach with you. I mean, and it certainly shouldn't be for yourself. You know, everybody grieves differently. Everybody responds to the loss in different ways. There's no one right way. My hope is that when these thoughts do come up, that you're able to recognize and think about these thoughts in such a way that you can challenge them. So I also wanted to talk about the third trigger that you had mentioned last week. And that is that you're in a relationship where you know that this individual that you've been with for 2 years is not really on the same page, doesn't have the same views and the same vision for this relationship. So how did that go last week? How did, you know, I know that you had ups and downs.
I avoid the conflict. So I think part of me is just kind of like accepting it for what it is, knowing that it's not healthy, I guess, but it's probably a little bit of just not wanting to be alone.